Hello, I'm ToyCat and welcome back to the second channel video. Today I'm here in San Francisco International Airport and I'm here today to talk about the plane that I'm going to be taking today, because one of the things that I see every now and then on social media when people see that I'm taking a particularly nice looking flight, or whether it's business or first, wherever it may be, people look at that and they say, wow, ToyCat, you must be rich. And although technically speaking, in the ethereal or third, compared to a third world country sense, you might be able to consider that true, because rich is kind of a, niche and imprecise term. The truth is, you don't actually need to be rich to fly these sorts of things, as long as you're willing to not do it all the time. If you buy fully flexible tickets all the time, months in advance, and you insist on doing it, yeah, you might pay the thousands that it might cost for instance, for a one-way ticket from San Francisco to London, for instance. However, if you're willing to kind of chance it and you're willing to play the game, you can do so for much cheaper. And in the case of today's flight, it was just $200 extra to do so, from, again, flying the normal economy up to premium and then up to business and having the bed for a 10-hour overnight flight. It's the sort of thing that's a godsend for reasons that will make sense as I show you this video, because this is basically just a giant flex or something like that, except it's actually a way to help you to do the exact same thing, so you don't have to see these things as out of reach, because although they're out of reach for some people and they're out of the intended reach for some people, if it's the sort of thing you want to do but you're put off by seeing the crazy price tags when you Google flight search these sorts of things, let me explain how it can be in the 3 digits or even the 2 digits as opposed to the 4 and 5. But first, let me show you exactly what it's like. Let me just show you the product itself, and that starts of course by going for security, which we can do slightly faster. Whether you have status or whether you're flying business, you of course get a slightly faster security line, which is going to be nice, because who likes standing in line at security? Not this guy. Is there anyone who's like, yeah, my favorite thing to do in the day is be at security? If that's you, got concerns about your hobbies. Actually, I guess that means you at least watch my videos as one of your other weird hobbies, so that means that my videos are on the same level as waiting in lines at security, in which case, wow, what a fun thing to do. I love that as well. What great hobbies you have. Thank you for liking and subscribing. Sarcasm. Let's see how short security is. So security was just as fun as you can imagine security ever is, even though I'm pretty sure it was probably faster to go for the normal line, but that's pretty egalitarian and how security maybe should be in your future vision. But yeah, basically now there is a lounge. There's a British Airways one, but also they won't tell you also have access to this one right here, which should be significantly nicer. There's noodles available in the Cathay Pacific Lounge. It's a Hong Kong carrier that are so good that I actively crave flying through airports just to get these noodles, because I've never found them anywhere else, anywhere even similar to this. Also, yes, I'm entirely aware how ridiculous it sounds to say I sometimes like taking flights just for the noodles, but you know what? You gotta enjoy the small things and all the ridiculous, I guess bougie is the word, right? Things in life. This is a very slow escalator. Do not recommend. But yeah, I love any part of the airport that has an amazing view of the planes. I'm a big plane nerd, so seeing, just so many of them while you do other stuff, always a fun little thing. But yeah, let's head into the Cathay Pacific Lounge. Let's get my noodles going. Because one of the most variable benefits of flying in any form of premium class is the access to lounges. Lounges vary hugely by airports, and even though airlines don't really advertise that so much because it's hard to advertise, it means that in some airports you get, just a room where you can sit and maybe some sad looking food, and in some airports you get airport noodles and you get, super amazing places to sit with views of the runway. Airport noodles with a view of planes as they're sitting down, parked. I feel like parked is probably the word, but yeah, airport views, good noodles, good views. What more do you need in the world? I said views twice. But yeah, it varies a lot by airport. So this is sometimes a good benefit if you're at a very busy airport like San Francisco, though. Ooh. Oh, I thought that was a person, looking out at me. But yeah, some airports have lots of lounges that are very competitive with each other. Some airports have just a single lounge. It really depends on a lot of things. But yeah, Japan Airlines has a lounge too. So obviously, I need to mention that this was recorded in the great before time when you could actually travel and whatnot, and this is kind of a reminiscent of that process. Hey, did you know business class lounges? Everyone's heard of them, but in San Francisco, you can actually board the plane straight from the lounge. It's a pretty cool, coherent experience where you're in a lounge entirely until you're on the plane, and when you're on the plane, if you're lucky enough to be flying a 747, you can actually be upstairs and separated from the rest of the plane in this kind of separate little bubble, because normally these seats on this airline are in a yin-yang pattern, 8 across if you would believe it for business class, but up here it's only 4 across, which still usually means that half of the seats have to walk over someone else to get to the bathroom or anything else like that, but this one has its own little entryway because of the emergency exit, which I think is really nice. So when you board the plane, there's some champagne offered, and I'm never really sure what I should do about champagne because I hate it as a drink, but also it feels like the sort of thing you're meant to do to celebrate this sort of opportunity. So of course, I take some champagne, it's wonderful, and then they give you access to some water, some amenities, and a little menu, so you know what and when you'll be able to eat on this flight. And I want to actually go back to the seat here because this seat is an introvert's dream. As someone who values their social distance from other people for non-germ reasons, this is the best thing. This is something I've been trying to do forever. I'm just saying, introverts will rule the world, and being lucky enough to not only fly on the upper deck where there's only like 20 people max, but also being lucky enough to fly in the little isolated bubble that is this, it's just the dream for me. And obviously it also reclines if you want it to, it even goes fully flat into a bed, but that will have to come after the drink and the nuts arrive. Again, this is a very fun service. One of the things about business that really separates it from economy is not just the fact that you obviously have a slightly bigger seat with more distance from other people, something which is more and more key who would have figured around the world, but also it's the kind of service you get on board. That's the thing they want to differentiate themselves on, because that's the sort of thing that business travelers will use to pick airlines. I mean, they're not the ones paying, so the biggest thing to them is the food, the drink services, etc. So drinks and nuts, how nice. This is a non-alcoholic cocktail. What a wonderful way to get my plane going. And if you take a look at the rest of the airplane food that I actually got right here, most people aren't fans of it, of course. That's a common joke that comedians get to make. But in business class, it's an entirely different experience. There's this amazing bread. I really can't describe how good this bread is. I think about plain bread sometimes when I'm on the ground. It's just so much better. I don't know what they do to it up there. But I swear, I mean, champagne is something like, wow, champagne's sure great. But no, the real reason you need to go for all of this experience, and the real reason sometime you need to try flying in a premium cabin, is just for the bread, not for the champagne or the cocktails or anything else like that. Being able to sleep and being able to have bread is real nice. And speaking of bread and sleep, wow, you do enough of one and you want to do the other. That works both ways, actually. But the really big benefit when you're flying transatlantic, especially from America to the UK, or rather eastbound anywhere in the world, is you're going to need to get some sleep because you're going to land in the morning, and that is the real benefit this seat will give you. If you are one of the lucky few who can actually sleep sitting up and get more than 10 minutes at a time, then my god, this is an entirely pointless experience, right? But the reason that so many people are willing to pay the thousands that it can cost sometimes to fly up here is for the point of getting some sleep in so they can actually arrive rested, because arriving rested and being able to actually do stuff can be worth more money than not being rested, having a whole day where you're a wreck and then not getting anything done anyway. For some certain business people, it can be worthwhile to drop a 4-figure supplement at the end right there, and it's solely because of this sleep issue. So really on this flight, we got ourselves a time machine, a magic time machine, where I got to eat some food, I got to enjoy some drinks, some nuts, and then I went to sleep, and I magically wake up in London, as opposed to the whole issue where oh yeah, you try to shut your eyes and then you sleep for 20 minutes and then it's a mess. I just slept for about 4 hours and now there is breakfast, and as you can see, it's looking pretty good. Basically, the thing you're buying up here is time. The time to have your next day be entirely fine, but also the time to make your flight go by much faster. But it's still something that's incredibly enjoyable, even if that's not your primary concern. And to me, I'll admit I value my own time. But something I value more than that is the ability to try out something that's really fun occasionally, which I do whenever the price is right, as indeed you found out I was in this video. And now I've landed at London Heathrow, and you know what? I'm feeling pretty good about my day, as always is the case. And yeah, we're now in the kind of weird tunnels below Heathrow, which most people don't know about based on the fact that I just got off a busy flight. It's the busiest time at Heathrow, the morning. All the flights land from America. And as you can see, there's me and 2 other people in the entirety of this tunnel. Very weird, spooky place. But whatever, you get the point. It was very nice. Now we can hop into talking about the how rather than just the why, or the how good it was. Also, these things are really weird, and cool, the things that go through here. But yeah, let's talk about how exactly this came to be. How do you end up, just like me, feeling great after a 10-hour transatlantic flight? Let me explain right now. So when you look at the flight prices from a market like London to San Francisco, you can see how it's very hard to pick anything besides the economy option, because premium economy is £1,031 one way and business is £2,314, and that's without including the first class option, which for some reason doesn't show here, but you get the point that it's wildly expensive to pick anything but economy. However, often what you can actually do if you book via certain websites direct is you can book even economy basic one way if you want to, and then on the return, where things may be cheaper, you can upgrade upgrade to premium economy, where the difference here is 78 to 253 pounds. I actually don't know, by itself, you might be able to justify this if you think it's a fun experience to try premium economy. I think overnight is actually a terrible time to try it personally, but still maybe you want to justify it. But you can see how business class is always going to be about £2,000, or even if you get a really nice short-ish route and it's a sale, you might get it for £1,000 each way, or a little bit less if you book via Europe. But basically my point is it's going to cost a lot more than either of these two options. But if we book premium economy just like this, that's right, we're gonna have that extra leg room and the free course meal and bar service and a smaller separate cabin. Things that you might care about. Personally, I don't actually think that's so amazing. I'm a big proponent against premium economy, but we can mix that with economy basic, as you can see right here. So we're flying with the no checked baggage here, but then we get double as much checked baggage on this one. It's a bit of a weird mismatch in that way. By the way, usually when you pick economy basic, you don't get free seat selection, but if you have any status of any One World airline, you actually can pick them for free. So let's go ahead and just pick, like, I don't know, it's forward and it's a window, so it's everything you need in a seat, right? If you're flying premium economy though, you do actually get to pick your own seat for free. So I mean, we could pick that one right there. It's actually not going to be relevant for what I'm talking about in today's video, but we can pick any premium economy seat we want, or we can deliberately not pick a seat, like I'm going to do right now. That's right, I'm going to not take the free seat. I'm going to instead take the one that shouldn't be free, but is free, because we're not going to be sitting in this cabin right here, as you'll see after we book this flight. Okay, so the flights are now booked, and although this is, like less than probably the average people spend on economy returns when you include like summer and stuff, if you're booking on the off-peak times, you probably expect to pay about £400. So we paid about £73, 17p more. You might value that as being worth it for the premium economy thing. Again, that's a decision you can make for yourself. We could have gotten this for £2.99 even if we'd have just gone for economy basic both ways. So, whether you value that or not is down to you and your personal preference, but that is not where our attention is with premium economy. To me, premium economy is a really, again, it's like, I'd rather go all the way and actually have a good flight, or I'd rather, like if I'm gonna like go through the normal experience, I'd rather do that and save the most money for my destination. But, we're talking about how to fly business class for cheap. So how did me booking this premium economy flight just turn into a business class booking? And allow me to show you. And the reason I mentioned we're not going to be sitting in that premium economy seat is because if you look right here on the Avios searcher, you can just go on the website and find this. As long as you can find any business class seats available, in this case there's one left, in this case there's anywhere from 2 to 10 seats left, but if you can see there is any number of seats left, and we're lucky that there is just the one left for us, you can book that directly using Avios if you want, which means we'd pay £516, in taxes and fees alone, before we consider the 62,500 Avios, which is actually quite a lot. There's a few other options, but like £1,100 potentially just to book this one if you want to save the Avios. That's a lot of money we're talking about, but instead of spending 62,500, more than a lot of people might have, and as well as spending £516, which was more than both my flights combined, by the way, and that's just the tax portion of this thing. One of the other options we have available to us is actually to book premium economy, which would cost £212.33 in taxes before you consider the 32,500 Avios, which if you give them a cash value would be like maybe £325. So we're talking like the taxes on this are pretty much the same as a ticket, and that's before you consider Avios. But one of the cooler uses of these points, because they're basically designed to be worth a penny or less to you, because that's how much they sell them to the credit card companies for, and how much they value them when they give you to them for getting on flights. Instead, what you can do, however, is something called upgrade with Avios. This allows you to, instead of paying entirely for a seat, you can make a cash booking in economy or premium or business, and then you can pay the Avios surcharge to go to the next tier up. So in other words, if a premium economy seat costs 32,500 Avios, this is peak season apparently, and a business class seat costs 62,500 Avios, then what you can actually decide to do is you can pay the the 30,000 difference. That's 30,000, right? Plus theoretically any tax surcharges. This is usually less than 100, but you can pay 30,000 Avios and turn that £250 seat, I think it was earlier, into a £2,000 seat. That is a 30,000 Avios turning into £1,750. That is the reason that you can use these points for ridiculously outsized value. I cannot afford to pay £2,000 for a one-way business class seat, but you know what I can afford? 30,000 Avios. Actually, not right now. I need to get myself some Avios. But I have a flight planned in the next week that should get me up to that number. Also, you can transfer them over from credit cards and whatever else you want to do. So obviously, it's way better if you can get these for free in some way, or for effectively free with spending you're already doing on some form of credit card, or if you can get them by flying already. But even in the very worst case, a thing you can choose to do, and apparently right now the 30% bonus, is we could just buy our way up there. We could buy the 20,000 Avios we need by doing this. I think it's actually exactly that amount. Yeah, we take that number and we add this. We could buy the difference for £255, effectively meaning we could buy that upgrade. Again, this is in wildly inflated prices, but we could buy that upgrade for £255, which is pretty good. 30,000 Avios later, and actually a phone call in this case, because I don't know why, but I had to call them up. It was a whole thing. I'll admit that was the worst part of the whole process. And now look at this. The seats are entirely different because we are in the business class for literally, just using these points to upgrade from one to another. That was £1,750 we just saved, and we're sitting around people who might not have just spent £1,750, but might have spent significantly more. If we go back and we look at like, oh yeah, let's look at this same search, but let's do a business class search. Even with TAP Air Portugal, we're spending a minimum of £1,500. But if we're talking about just the the British Airways of the world, we're talking about people who have paid up to £4,334 for their flights. If they're going on a lot of connections, they might get 3.7 thousand, and it's pretty cool to be in there for this price. And yeah, now we can pick any of the seats if you're curious. British Airways has a really weird business class where like it's on 2 floors on the 747, where like the bottom floor is 8 across, so it's actually not a very cutting edge product. But they do also have like a seat below upper deck where there's like how many seats even is this? Like 20 seats up here, and yeah, this is better because there's fewer people around you. There's only like one person you're awkwardly sitting like opposite from, and yeah, we also get to have like direct dial access. It's going to be one of the better seats you can get in their cabin as well, better even than some of the people who might end up paying the thousands of pounds, because again, you actually have to pay to pick these seats usually, but something status get that for free. It's a nice little bonus that makes this an even better deal, and yeah, now you understand how we did this. And most people who show you these sorts of tips will end it up with like and let me encourage you to get a credit card where you can, obviously get those points for free. And also, by the way, I make a huge commission when you click that. But no, in this particular case, it's just like hey, if you want to get into the airline point game, there are so many credit cards in every region of the world, they'll give you some form of points back. But those credit cards don't make sense if you're not going to be paying off the entire balance every single month. If you pay any amount in, if you pay any amount of fees, then obviously it'd make no sense to be getting points instead. But if you're getting some form of cashback card right now, you could also choose to be getting a point card because they effectively work the same way, but points can get you outsized value, whereas, 0.5p back for every, pound you spend or 0.5 cents for every dollar is never going to be a particularly great deal, whereas getting an Avios back for every dollar, or 1.5 Avios, I think, is the highest you can get in the UK, might be a much better deal because you can use it for stuff like this. If, like me, you have a really, a big interest in premium cabins, but you don't have a premium wallet with which to pay for it. I mean, I don't have £4,000. If you want to start the donate to Toycat so we can fly business even on ludicrously short routes, then let me know. But anyway, I hope you all enjoyed this video. Like it if you did like it, share if you really liked it, and I don't know, this is a second channel video, so I don't care. I just wanted to show you something cool that I'm passionate about that might be able to save you a lot of money in your life. Or realistically, it allows you, in this case, no one's paying that £2,000 in my audience, I wouldn't hope. If you are, again, donate to the Toycat, can afford a £4,000 flight fund. But instead, it's like, if you want to try something cool, if you think the premium cabin experience is something that you pass by every time, you're like, oh, I'd like to be here, because that's how it is for me every time I'm flying at the back, including on this very trip, then maybe this helped you out in that way. Or maybe you just thought it was cool to see the weird tricks you have to go through to not pay £4,000, because the people paying these high amounts are the people keeping the airline in business, and I'm just taking the spare extra seats that they're making available by a lot of jumping through hoops, which are there deliberately so that you can sit in that seat for a lot less, but so that these people still will pay that amount, or rather their companies will still pay that amount, because most people aren't paying this amount. And if you are, like, you know what, why not just splurge an extra £400 actually for first class? Again, if this was my own money, that does seem like a good deal, doesn't it? Like £400 extra for first class. Why wouldn't you? Or would you actually? YouTube comments. If you were the level of rich where £4,334 was not a lot for a flight, would you spend $450 more and go for first class? Let me know. Let's all have a rich people society discussion. But no, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, I'll see you in the next one. And if you didn't, then this was the last time I'll ever speak to you. So goodbye. There are some really weird corners of the airport that you just don't normally see, because there's no reason anyone would go through them. And the escalators at the end of the long hallway are apparently one of these. Those are passengers about to take their flights. I can make obscene gestures to them and they can't do anything about it. Yeah, look at this. Aha. Funny.